So, turns out a lot of people want to know who the best op in North America beyond Skadoodle is. Well, the quick and easy answer is it's Fallen. But if you're saying Fallen's not a North American because he's a dirty South American, you might be onto something. So beyond Fallen, who do we have to really look at? Well, the candidates go a little bit something like PDR, Shazam, blah, blah, blah. All right. PDR can't rifle. So you're saying, well, what does rifling have to do with opping? Well, one big contention that I have, actually, a lot of people are like, well, why would you take your best rifler and make him an opper? Well, why not? I mean, the op is like one of the most important roles in the game, and if somebody can op and they can rifle, that's great. If they can op but they can't rifle, that's fucking terrible. Because you're not going to have an op every single fucking round. And if you can only make game impact, if you can only impact or influence the game, if you have a fucking $4,750 weapon in your hands, maybe you fucking blow. Just maybe. A little bit. Like in comparison to your peers, that is. Not everybody. Not me. I blow too. But not as much as, well, actually a lot more than you. But that's not the point, right? What the point is who's the next best opper in North America beyond Skadoodle? Well, that is North American. Let's look at Shazam, right? I mean, I made a lot of fucking criticism of Shazam. He's done nothing to really fix them. He still puts himself in a lot of 1vx situations. Sometimes he wins them. Most times he doesn't. It probably puts himself in more 1vx situations than anybody else in Counter-Strike in North America, at the very least. And then you also have the fact that, like, he's just not a courageous op. He spends the entire, like, beginning of the round baiting his teammates, and then he only finds any kind of, like, aggression, or he only, like, peeks things when he shouldn't peek them, kind of like the stat chase. And he's super aggressive, actually, against ecos. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it if your opera is, like, super aggressive against ecos, if he has, like, an SMG or a shotgun, and he's trying to rack up, you know, the money bonus. But, I mean, why is he also doing it with a fucking rifle? But he'd never do it in a gun round. Like, no, none, no early round aggression, none whatsoever. None of that. Do I like early round aggression from oppers? People call it scrimmy, but you know what? I think that the more aggressive you play and get away with, the better of a player you are. Of course, it is great to be a passive player and also dominate the game, but the best players can do both, obviously. They're switches. All of the best players. Kenny, Guardian, and I'm not even just talking about oppers. Shocks, Forest, anybody. I'm not even just talking about, like, aggressive riflers, like lurkers, like Snacks and Get Right can turn it on. Olaf, for instance, is one of the greatest Switch players of all time. But beyond that, if you're looking at who the best oppers in the world are, right, like Simple, Guardian, Kenny, Alu, they're all pretty great riflers. Like, they're not like PDR. They're not somebody who, like, will forego having a rifle, or JW, just so that they can, you know, op, or because they won't, like, be able to afford a rifle whatsoever, like, ever. Like, having a rifle is just like a wasted gun for them because they cannot make an impact with it. If you give a rifle to JW, or you give it a rifle, I mean, JW will save for an op, but if you give a rifle to JW or, like, Simple or anybody, any of those players, if you give them an AK-47, they can still make, like, they can multi-frag with it. Make pretty big impact, like, important frags, too. And that's what I like to focus on. I like to focus on frags that actually mean something, that are meaningful, that produce game impact, which is why at the end of this video you'll see it's very ironic. But since we're not towards the end, we're about around the middle, who do we have in the list of, like, oppers in North America? Well, we don't have much, right? And that's what everybody's freaking out about. So everybody's like, what the professional scene needs more of is oppers. God damn it, we need more good oppers. We ain't got enough. There's only one good guy, and his name's Skadoodle. And the other guy's a dirty South American, so he don't count. And, you know, I mean, there's some validity to that, but I don't think we're looking at the entire, like, the full picture. And the funny thing is, I feel like Dazed is, like, opping, and, like, Steel was opping for a little bit, and, like, Swag wants to be, like, a primary or something. Like, people notice this, like, little hole that there is as far as, like, demand. Like, there's a demand for it, there's a need for it. They're like, you know what, I revolutionized myself as an opper. Hey, I could be, like, really in need, you know, for, you know, when I get unbanned or whatever. But I think the issue with our conception of America needing an opper is just that the two oppers that we have beyond Skadoodle in the public image's eye. So if you look at the two most popular oppers behind Skadoodle, not the best, they aren't the best by any means, it's PTR and Shazam. Okay, so what's the problem with Shazam? Other than the fact that, you know, anything outside of the game. Well, it's just even with inside of the game, with inside of the server, Shazam will never have as much courage with an op as he does behind the Twitter mobile app, ever, under any circumstances. So you're like, what if you're saying like, oh, so you're saying like he's a passive opper, like he's like a JDM style opper? No, I think JDM is actually way better than Shazam, which is weird. But JDM definitely didn't start out being way better than Shazam. JDM definitely started out being pretty bad, but like that guy has probably made more improvement than a lot of players. I could see he definitely put in the work. But with that, and I hate how players will like get a view of a player. They used to know this player when he was complete shit. So to them, this player will always be complete shit. And the world isn't dynamic. People don't change. People don't grow. People don't get better. When I first met you, you were an 8 RWS player. So forever, in my eyes, you'll be an 8 RWS player. Oh man, I cracked myself up. So anyway, beyond that, if you look at this game in any other respect, right? If you look at the AWPers, I actually like Silent 0.3 FPR. I think actually he's a very talented AWPer, and he's been able to make like a lot of impact. I like guys like XP3, who I see this guy in game making just very smart decisions all the time, and I'd love to see somebody like XP3 surrounded by a very talented roster, and I think we'll get to see that in the upcoming months if it sticks out. Like the fucking, there's so little stability in this fucking game with Mythic. If XP3 sticks it with Mythic, I'd really be interested in seeing what he can do with a team like that. Not to say that's the most talented team in the world, but I think the next roster change they make shouldn't be XP3, I'll tell you that much. It should be a guy, his name starts with an L. But beyond that, if you look at the AWPers and just the AWPers, and I'm not gonna completely rely on statistics, which is weird because I fucking make fun of statistics, people caring about statistics all the time, but statistically, PDR was a little underwhelming in gun rounds, and even just looking at what he can do in impacting a game extraneously, I don't know if, like, I feel like he wants the star carry. He wants the team to revolve around his op, almost as if he's Kenny S. Maybe in his mind he is, but his impact just isn't there. And then some things he just drops the ball on. You're never going to impress anybody, I don't think, in this game unless you win, and unless you win convincingly, and unless you that's, people can say whatever they want to say about you. They can criticize whatever the fuck they want to criticize. If you win the game, if you win like a title, if you win a LAN, an international LAN, nobody can take success away from you whatsoever under any circumstances ever. It just doesn't work that way, which is pretty cool. But beyond that, the the success just hasn't been there for PTR. The huge games hasn't been there. So if you're gonna look at PTR and you're going to say why he isn't, the second best North American AWPer, you would look at the majority of his past games, and you would come to that conclusion. And you could do the same thing with Shazam as well. Very underwhelming performances, even at LAN. Great AWPers would be able to will their teams to victories under the most dire circumstances at LAN. Peter going 20 and 20, 20 and 19, 18 and 16, that's just not going to cut it. Okay, going 11 and 16 and stuff like that, that's just not going to cut it. Against international opponents, that's just not going to cut it. If you're talking about being like a great AWPer. Now, who I think actually, this is so fucked up, is the second best AWPer in North America, or actually has like the potential to really be. And speaking of potential, actually, I'm gonna bring up Koosta. Like, a lot of people will be like, the best AWPer in North America who's North American is Skadoodle, then like Fallen's good, and then right after that it's Koosta. It's this guy who just came out at Premiere and he's sick and he's amazing and you have no idea, and just wait and see. I think Koosta has a fuck ton of talent, but we need to give players time. Like Koosta, and we've seen it. You've seen it in the last 2-3 matches. He's not necessarily there yet, But potential-wise, he looks fucking amazing. The shit he's able to do, and the shit that he has the confidence to do. Confidence means so much. Is pretty nutty. And I mean, that's personally what I feel, is that confidence means a lot. And being well-rounded means a lot. So in my mind, the best AWPer in North America is actually going to be Semphis. Which is crazy, right? Yeah, but no, it's definitely going to be Semphis for me. You're talking about a guy who is very well-rounded. He can rifle really well. He's a good pistol player. He understands the meta. He's so dedicated. I mean, this guy has more frag check hours than a lot of pros. Other pros that have a lot of frag check hours are like Finesse, by the way. So you can see by looking at people's frag check hours how much time they're putting in the game, especially now that frag check is pretty much coming away as being the preeminent deathmatch server in North America. Shout out to Tarek. Semphis, though, these statistics are misleading. Him like being second ADR and like first in FPR, a lot of it was done not with an op, because just by the very nature of when this was from season 19, these statistics that are being shown now, he played more, I think, with actually forcing and not playing with an op than he did with an op. So a lot of these aren't as many frags as Skadoodle's, all of Skadoodle's op frags. If you see Skadoodle, he's down there with 79.9 ADR and 0.7 FPR. But that's not really necessarily the point. The point is that Semphis has shown time and time again his ability to multi-frag, get 2Ks, time and time again his ability to close out rounds, winning 1v3s and winning 1v2s and winning 1v1s and whatnot. So, I mean, Semphis is a pretty important player, but more than anything, his ability to use utilities, his ability to set up his teammates, his ability to read the game, and sometimes incorrectly, honestly. His approach is very stubborn, it's very dedicated, and it's very confident. And I think more than anything, we need a confident AWPer who can actually rifle and can actually like support his teammates well. And he can be confident. See, I've seen Semphis be very confident, get shut down, and completely change his style to the point where he learns mid game and he adapts to what's going on, which is extremely important at any level of CS. But the most important thing that I've seen out of Semphis is just his years and years and years of LAN experience. So if you're if you're looking at Semphis, you're saying, can I take him to LAN and he'll do well? Obviously, he probably has. I mean, he up until Cloud9 went on their run, he had the most prize winnings in CS:GO in like North America. So he had more LAN success than pretty much anybody, if you look at the money. So, I mean, I feel like Semphis is a great option for who the second best AWPer is in North America. And, if people were to ask me, who do you think is the second best AWPer in North America, I'd obviously say Fallen, because I don't view things in those terms. But if they meant somebody who's like a North American for some reason, it's got to be Semphis. So, Skadoodle, Fallen, Semphis, definitely, without a doubt in my mind.